Someone else weighing in on this subject, that would be Mavs coach Rick Carisle, who is also president of the Coaches Association, and he thinks LaVar Ball and the coverage of him is no laughing matter. Take a listen, guys.
Printing an article where the father of an NBA player has an opinion that is printed as anything like legitimate erodes trust. It erodes the trust that we've built with ESPN, and our coaches are upset because Luke Walton does not deserve that. To have to deal with these kinds of ignorant distractions, is deplorable. They should look at their sources and do a better job of determining whether they have any merit or any validity, or are they just blowhard loudmouths? That's what I'm saying. You got that?
Blowhard loudmouth. Stephen A., does Carisle have a point?
No, he does not. I respectfully disagree. Well, let me take that back. It's not that he doesn't have a point. It's that I respectfully disagree with him. And in the interest of full disclosure, Rick Carisle and I spoke about a half hour before the show this morning. Not to mention the fact that he and I go back many, many years. I have a lot of love for him, profound respect for him. He's a championship coach. I feel very, very strongly about Rick Carisle as a person, and he and I have known each other for many years. But I respectfully disagree with him in this respect. He's looking at it as ambulance chasing or what have you. We live in an age where the bottom line is it's not about negativity, sales, or anything like that. Something as simplistic as that. This is not an anonymous quote. This is LaVar Ball. Just because you don't like him, just because you might feel he's a bit idiotic or his statement is a bit idiotic or what have you, doesn't mean that you don't quote the man, okay? So when I think about Jeff Goodman sitting down talking to him, I'm not a person that was in support of ESPN going to Lithuania. I saw no purpose to that whatsoever, but that's just my personal opinion. But having said that, if LaVar Ball, I don't care where he is, makes this statement about Luke Walton, I'm going to quote him, period. He is the father of the point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers and is talking about how this coach needs to go. Now, just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not newsworthy. Just because you have a distaste for LaVar Ball's tactics doesn't mean that what he said in this particular situation is not newsworthy. We sit up there and we report what he says. And now we get to comment and excoriate it and minimize it for the nonsense that it may have been. But it doesn't mean that you ignore it just because it's him. He's the father of the point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers. And that makes it news. You may not like it, but if liking someone or liking a particular topic is what determines what gets disseminated to the masses, then there's a whole bunch of stuff that's not going to get written and not going to get reported, and we got to be cognizant of that.
Rick Carisle is wrong, and we are partners with the NBA. And by the way, the NBA is the greatest. Stephen A., it's your favorite. It's my favorite too, and it's the greatest team sport there is. And I love football, and other people love other team sports. And I grew up on baseball. There's basketball. NBA basketball it's as good as it gets. And by the way, the ratings are increasing in a declining TV market, and everyone is NBA obsessed. It's a great league. And sure, when you are, if a broadcast entity is broadcasting games from a league, you are partners in a way, and the league can influence the broadcasting entity. It's not as though they don't have influence. They don't sit down and talk about things. This is not life and death after all. It is entertainment. But they can't dictate to the broadcasting entity how to cover their league exactly. So he may not like that he's maybe right that LaVar Ball, I'd say he is right, is a blowhard. But if people feel it's interesting or newsworthy, they're going to point a camera at it. We're going to comment on it. I understand he doesn't like that because it rewards, loudish behavior. But he may have a point there. A lot of the choices we make editorially here or in other news organizations, I've been around, Stephen A., and also in hard news, is gut. It's from your gut. The producers, the talent, you sit down. We're called talent, believe it or not. You sit down. Let me just finish these thoughts. You sit down in the meeting and you decide, what are we going to cover? And sometimes, it is true, you kind of put your finger in the wind and you find like, well, LaVar Ball's talking again. And at a certain point, you may get pushback from people within an organization saying, you know what, we're covering this guy a lot. What's his credibility? It's the same thing over and over. We shouldn't reward this kind of behavior. And maybe that kind of affects the coverage in a way, and that's perfectly reasonable. Sometimes your gut tells you the wrong thing. But a coach in the league saying, hey, they shouldn't be covering them, you know, the broadcast will decide who we cover and how and what we want to say about it. And he may not like that it in a way rewards bad behavior, but sometimes that's the way it goes.